It's Insider Trading, the early edition with Chris Johnston. CJ, it's a busy time. Look, we're a day away from the Sabres dealing away their second leading scorer and pending restricted free agent JJ Peterka to Utah. Not ideal for the Sabres, but it was pretty clear he wanted out. So, what's the fallout on that, and what's next for Kevyn Adams and the Sabres?
Well, this isn't a situation where Kevyn Adams can put up his feet and just say, oh, job done. And that's because he's got another important decision pending, and that's with Bowen Byum, who, like Peterka, is in a situation where he's a restricted free agent, needs a new contract, and ultimately likely needs a new place to play because he's blocked on the left side of that Sabres blue line. And there is plenty of interest in this player. As many as 8 teams or more have been in touch with the Sabres. And I think what's interesting after the deal they made for Peterka is it might open up some new possibilities. One thing Buffalo had been looking for as part of the trades they were going to make this offseason was getting a right shot defenseman. Well, they got that in Michael Kesselring and the deal with Utah that they made for Peterka. And now that's left at least a couple teams out there that liked Byram, but maybe didn't have the right piece to offer in terms of a right shot D and that kind of deal, hoping that they can find something to get done. And so I would think that Byram will be the next big piece of business in Buffalo, and certainly a big name coming off a great season. If the Sabres are able to consummate a deal for him, you can expect it to be one that includes multiple pieces.
All right, a John Tavares update. The Leafs are trying to figure out what to do with him. He was second on the team with 38 goals last season, so they do want his offense. He wants to stay and will probably take a bit of a hometown haircut, but he's going to be 35 before the start of next season. So trying to find that right number and term is not easy. What's the latest on that front?
Well, that's all true. And as of Thursday morning, the word on this one, inching along, which I think is actually interesting because it does tell us that some progress is being made, albeit slow progress, on a player that, yes, I do believe is most likely still going to remain with the Toronto Maple Leafs. But for a player of Tavares' caliber, it's become clear, if it wasn't already, that the Leafs are negotiating hard in this situation, taking advantage of the fact that clearly he does want to remain with the Maple Leafs, and they're just trying to find the right hometown discount, because make no mistake, if John Tavares remains with the Toronto Maple Leafs, it will be on a deal that is less than he could get had he gone, or does he go to the market on Tuesday. So, they're still grinding away as of Thursday on it. There's been consistent dialogue on this file, and, it's getting time here to make a deal, to get something done, because obviously the Leafs want to take care of this business before the player hits the free agent market.
CJ, speaking of guys willing to take a bit of a haircut, soon to be 36-year-old Stars captain Jamie Benn staying in Dallas now, CJ?
He is. And look, this is a case that the player didn't want to be part of going to the market at all, looking anywhere else. Jamie Benn, drafted at age 18 by the Dallas Stars, and in this position, age over 35, he was able to get a bonus-laden deal, which can be helpful to the team. He gets $1 million in base salary on this one-year extension and up to $3 million in bonuses that will be paid next season. And the reason those are helpful is because the Stars will have the option, if he hits those bonuses, $2 million of which, if he plays 60 games, would come to Benn. The additional $1 million would be if they reach the Stanley Cup final and ultimately win the Stanley Cup. He would get an additional $1 million. But the Stars can either have that on next year's cap if they have room, or if they don't have room, they can push it beyond a season and basically assume that cap hit down the road. And for a team trying to win the Stanley Cup, as Dallas is, for a team that already is pretty close to the ceiling, which the Stars are, that's a beneficial contract. For Benn, it's beneficial because he gets to stay where he's the captain, the place he loves to play, and a place where he's been, very close here as part of the teams for the last 3 years that got to the Final Four. So they found a creative solution that worked for all sides, and it does give Dallas some more room here to operate in the market as they look to upgrade their team.
What about behind the Stars bench? Of course, they went through that pretty public breakup between the Stars and Pete DeBoer after their yet another long run for them that didn't work out, and his relationship with Jake Ottinger and that leading to his firing. How close are they to finding a new guy behind the bench?
Well, they're getting down to brass tacks on that decision, and they did speak with Glenn Gulletson, who, of course, was the Stars head coach more than a decade ago, but most recently spent the last 7 years as an assistant coach with the Edmonton Oilers. He went through a recent interview here in Dallas. Also, Neil Graham still in the mix. He was the American Hockey League coach for the Stars affiliate in Austin, the Texas Stars. It sounds like it'll most likely come down to one of those two individuals. And remember, one thing Jim Nill mentioned when he made the change of Pete DeBoer is that they were looking for someone who could maybe grow into the role, a player who could, rather a coach that could grow along with the players, be the next voice, be the next head coach in the league, rather than going out and getting a more proven commodity. In the case of Gulletson, he has had a couple experiences as a head coach, but they were quite a while ago in the past. And Neil Graham's waiting for his first opportunity. So it seems as though one of those two men will end up with the job here when the Stars make their final call.
CBA talks are continuing. CJ, by all accounts, seem to be progressing towards a deal. There's word the league could be looking at going back to an 84-game sched the year after next. They haven't played that many since the 93-94 season. The players didn't like it then because it was pre-revenue sharing. Is it going to be a lot easier to push something like this through since the extra revenue now means more cash for them?
Well, it's more cash, which is great. It's more divisional games for each team, 2 more a year, which is something the NHL likes and obviously, promotes rivalries within the sport. And ultimately, it reduces the number of preseason games. And so I think it ticks a number of boxes. Essentially, yes, the headline will be that the league is going to go starting in 2026-27 season to an 84-game regular season schedule, but in curtailing what they're doing in preseason. I think that's one way that this works for everyone involved. The players themselves won't actually play more total games over the year because obviously they'll now play a little bit less in the exhibition season with the 2 more being played in the regular season. And those should be winners at the box office, should bring more money in that the league and the players will continue to split 50-50. So, for me, it's one of the more interesting aspects of this deal that's about to be finalized here between the NHL and the NHLPA. And you're going to see more, divisional rivalry type games, which I do think fans like as well.
Speaking of ways to generate revenue, the 2028 World Cup, we're already looking ahead to that, and they're opening up the bidding now for the host cities?
They are, yeah. That's in North America, Europe, and even international destinations. The league and the Players Association are inviting those applications to come in. The North American ones need to be in by mid-July. It's still late July for the other cities, and ultimately they're going to hone in on 2 potential cities with obviously one hosting the final set of games. And so, I think it's a sign of how this tournament has grown from where it was, it was last held in 2016. International hockey, obviously on the upswing here with what we saw at the Four Nations tournament back in February. And so, there's going to be a more formal bidding process. And ultimately, in the first quarter of 2026, the league and the Players Association hope to identify where exactly that 2028 World Cup will be held.
CJ, thanks for the update, buddy. It's a busy, busy few days for you. A reminder, we'll have the full version of Insider Trading with CJ, Dregs, and Pierre coming up on the early edition of SportsCenter.